What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today is April 22nd, which means Andor Season 2 drops, and the first 3 episodes of Season 2 just drops today. I'm breaking down every single one, starting off with my spoiler-free review of each episode, and then after that, I'll do my final actual thoughts and review of each episode. Starting off with episode 1, this is my spoiler-free review. It was sort of like an intro episode. I think it was the shortest out of them all. Most of them were actually pretty long. I think they're around the 30 to 50, high 50 range on minutes, so that's actually pretty good. I'm glad we got 3 episodes, because this one was mainly like an intro. It wasn't too, like, not exciting, but it wasn't really, like, most exciting. It was mainly like an intro setup for the rest of the season, and I could see it play out pretty well, and I really did like it as, like, an intro opening episode. Definitely not going to be my favorite of the season, but I think it is really good as, like, an intro opening episode again, and it definitely shows, like, all aspects of Andor, because there's, like, a lot of different stuff happening, and we can see it all play out, and sort of be a recap for most of the main parts of last season. But now for my spoiler review, and if you haven't watched it, then I definitely recommend you go and watch that, but I'm uploading this the day after, so if you haven't, then definitely recommend go watching, because it was a very good episode. And basically, the main idea was there was like 3 different parts of it, which was Andor himself, of course, and we did see a little bit of the intro clip of him. I think it was posted on Star was posted like smaller clips of it and some other bigger clips of it. But basically, he steals a TIE Interceptor, which is actually a really cool newer model. It wasn't like the UCS Lego TIE Interceptor that we got, which was some of the latest, like episode 6 version, but of course this takes place actually before episode 6, so I guess this is technically the original model, and then they technically add to it a little bit later, but I could see a lot of more of the details of the TIE Interceptor, which is really, really cool. But that was the main part of Andor, and he does crash land on a planet, and then that's when most of like the action happens. Basically, a bunch of people think that he is a Imperial, because of course he was pretending to be an Imperial, and he crashed onto a TIE fighter or a TIE Interceptor there. And probably my favorite part was the meeting with Director Krennic. So we did get to see a little bit of Director Krennic. Hopefully I see K2SO in the other 2 episodes, because technically by the time I'm recording this, I haven't watched them all, because I'm going to watch the episode, then record the part, watch the episode, and record the part, so I can get it all as quickly as possible. So for the Director Krennic sort of meeting part, of course, you get a lot of the Imperial officials, some of the main characters that we see from the other show, and they were talking about Gorman, which is a new planet, which is going to be the main focus, I'm assuming, of Andor Season 2. We get to see it a lot in the trailer, and basically this is where a lot the Imperial can like harvest stuff from the planet, and it's very valuable to them, and of course they'll break it down in more episodes and see actually how it works and everything. We haven't really gotten any footage of the actual planet besides in the trailer. The next part was with Mon Mothma, and there's a whole storyline with that, so you definitely want to watch the later season, or the season 1, to really get a full understanding of what's happening with Mon Mothma. But that was, again, sort of recap, nothing too interesting in that. Spoiler review of episode 2, I think was actually pretty good. I think that it was a little bit more action than episode 1, and I do think episode 1 was a pretty good episode, but I think I liked episode 2 a little bit better. I think the review for the show, when the critics actually rated on, I think, Rotten Tomatoes, it was like a 97% overall, which is like the complete show, not just the first 3 episodes. So this first 2 was definitely a really good setup, and I really like the end, but it's kind of hard to describe it without putting in any spoilers, but definitely wouldn't recommend watching this one. But now for the spoilers. So again, there's like 3 or 4 like separate parts of the show, or different like angles of the different main characters that we see. One's like the Imperial one, one's the one with like Biggs Clean on the planet, which I think I originally thought it was Lothal. Some people thought it was Dantooine, but it's actually a planet called, I think, Mino Rio. I don't know actually know how to say it. It is a completely new planet that we get. And speaking of new planets, the Cassian Andor sort of like subplot, I guess, technically is the main part of the story, sort of picks up again. This one was a little bit more exciting. Basically, there was like sort of a division between the group that Cassian Andor was held in, and he finally escaped, and there was also a new creature in there, which we didn't really get to see a lot about, but it mainly helped him escape. And of course, he's Cassian Andor, so he escaped in the the TIE Interceptor, but at the ending shot, we never actually got to see, like, the planet at the beginning. Like, it usually calls out if it's a new planet and shows, like, where it is and what the planet is called, but it never actually showed it at the beginning. But at the end, we get to a fly-out shot of him at, like, the very end. We get to see a building of Yavin 4, which is so cool. So I guess this is setting up the rebel base on Yavin 4, and I'm so excited to see what they can do with it, because I know this is picking up right away from Andor Season 1, going all the way to Rogue One. So that's going to be really exciting to see the setup for Yavin 4. So Episode 3 was actually really good, and it was the longest of these episodes. And for my non-spoiler review, I can't really go into much detail. Again, it is pretty hard to describe these episodes without spoiling it, but I, again, definitely recommend watching this one. This one was a little bit more action-packed. I think it had more meaning than the last two, and again, this one was actually a little bit more exciting than the last two. I think maybe the first one was sort of a setup, which wasn't, like, extremely boring. The first one weren't extremely boring, definitely not in the Andor part of it, but I think the third one here was a lot more interesting than most of all the separate, like, subplots, I guess. But the main part was, again, on that one planet that I was talking about. Again, I think it was, like, Mino Rio. Again, it's a completely new planet. It's not Lothal. I know I said it was. But basically, they're trying to escape. In the last episode, they had a couple Imperial officers there, but now there's, like, a lot more, and they're trying to escape. And Brasso, I think was his name, he actually died, sadly, at the end, so this is technically a lot of spoiling. But Star Wars says, I'm reading it from the actual website, it says, there's no stone for Brasso, but his sacrifice will help build the foundation of the rebellion. So I'm very excited to see how that will play out in the other episodes. But that was, like, the main plot, I guess, and Andor actually finally got to them and actually got reunited to them. And again, I'll talk a little bit about the Mon Mothma subplot, which is actually pretty interesting. Again, you mainly have to watch Season 1 to see how it sort of all plays out. I'm not really going to summarize it because I definitely recommend watching Season 1's entire, like, plot of that. But basically, the marriage is, like, complete now. So Mon Mothma's daughter and like, the other person's, I don't know his exact name, his son is finally, like, married, I guess. Sort of, in a way, it's kind of hard to explain it, but, basically, Mon Mothma has been sort of, like, threatened, because whoever's son it is knows that she is going to be, like, the leader of the rebellion. Of course, you can tell anyone, tell the Imperials, and then she is done for, so he made an agreement to marry his son to marry his daughter, if that makes any sense. There's a little bit of a simplified explanation of what is happening, but hopefully that will make you understand a little bit more. Again, Star Wars has, like, their own recaps. Again, I read from the website, which they have, and they instantly drop all the breakdowns because, of course, it's Star Wars, so they'll have a breakdown for every single episode, like a subplot on StarWars.com. But that's going to do it for the rest of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing yesterday, and see you all in the next one.